So here we are, episode 10 of Quantum Leap, and here I am with my review, the episode called Paging Dr. Song. So let's talk about it. Okay, so welcome back to the channel, everyone. Welcome to my new review for the latest episode of this new series of Quantum Leap, episode 10. As I already said, it's entitled Paging Dr. Song. And in this episode here, Ben jumps into the body of Alexandra Tompkinson, a first-year medical resident at this hospital in Seattle in the year 1994, and we are introduced to her mentor, Dr. Sandra Turk, who's in a rather vicious custody battle within a point in her life, and we come to find out that Ben is there to save not just one life but to save 3 different lives. We come to find out that these people are not actually in the hospital yet. When he goes to look up the names of the 3 people that he's there to save. But shortly after that happens, we learn that there's been a big train crash and a flood of casualties come into the hospital. And this is where we're introduced to each of the 3 individuals that Ben is there to save. Okay, the first of the 3 that we're introduced to is a girl called Kimberly Cole. And as we're introduced to her, we're also introduced to another doctor called Dr. Harper, who's one of the primary doctors within the hospital, and he prescribes an experimental drug to her called Respiratrax, which is a drug that has side effects, and the side effect of this drug to her is that it would end up killing her because of an undiagnosed condition that she has. So Ben, as Alexandra Tompkinson, changes the prescription that's given to give her a different drug that doesn't have this effect on her. And this later on in the episode comes into play when Dr. Harper comes to find out that the prescription has been changed, and it opens up a bit of conflict within the episode between these doctors. The second individual that we're introduced to is an individual called Eli Jackson, who's this old fella who's been in the train crash. He hasn't got a problem, just banged his head, but it turns out that from the scan he's got a brain tumour, but he's happy to let this brain tumour just kill him essentially because he has nothing left in life. But it turns out that this is actually Dr. Sandra Turk's father, an estranged father that she's had nothing to do with for a long time, and he was a lawyer in his younger days, a very successful lawyer who would defend these big companies that were doing wrong. He spent his time doing that, and this is why his daughter had become a doctor, because she wanted to help people, whereas he was more in the line of hindering people and this sort of a thing. And then the third person we are introduced to is a character called Lewis Tan, who has a lump of shrapnel stuck in his head, and he's worried about his wife who's still missing. And in the original timeline, when Dr. Sandra Turk removed the shrapnel from the fella's head, he bled out. It nipped an artery, he bled out and died. So they have to go through this sort of quick surgery and it's a bit, this bit didn't sit right with me because it's all done, just sat there on an operating table. You'd think that you'd lie the person down at least, steady the head, something like that if you're going to be removing something like this. But no, they're happy to have him sat there talking, his head's wobbling away as they're operating and pulling this lump out. So that bit there didn't really work for me in that sense, but they get it out and he doesn't die. But as the story progresses, we come to find out that his wife has actually been found dead, or she hasn't been found dead, she's been pronounced brain dead, I should say. So she's still alive, but she can help out in her afterlife. She can help out with the train crash victim Kimberly Cole in a kind of, they need something from her to help her live. So there's this sort of like cross connection between all these stories that are going on in there. You got the cross connection between Lewis Tan and and Kimberly Cole, but then the cross connection between Eli Jackson, because his daughter and that, they want to use him to go up against the medical board and using this Respiratrax drug. At the end of the day, during the operation, where these two characters are donating one thing to another, Kimberly Cole and Lewis Tan, it all gets very messy, trying to describe it all. That Dr. Harper's there and he's deciding to use Respiratrax again, but now on the operating table this will kill Kimberly Cole, and you know, Ben Song goes bursting in with Dr. Sandra Turk and they get him to change his mind on using it and blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Now, while all that is going on, this is a very, very busy episode in that sense. A lot of stuff going, a lot of cross continuity between the individual stories within the episode. They all very much mishmash into one, so to speak. We have the story of Janice. Bit of calm now, bit of calm. So there's a few scenes with Janice. Obviously, in the last episode, she'd been taken into custody, into the Quantum Leap project. She gets talking to Magic for a bit. She gets talking to the Bitrate Ming-Na Wen for a bit, and ultimately in the end she sees Addison. But in this bit of fortuitous writing, which I see as being nothing more than a way of keeping the truth or keeping the mystery there for the audience, she tells Addison to stop asking Ben, to tell Ben not to tell her anything that he remembers, to not trust anyone, even her, and all this sort of stuff going on, and that's the way it needs to be. So like I said, very sort of on your face, on your nose, right in there, in that we need to keep this mystery going. We can't reveal any of the mystery. We don't want Ben to reveal any of the mystery. We want to keep it from you as an audience member, to keep you intrigued for as long as we can. So let's write it in this manner. So I did feel that kind of an element to that sort of a scene. As episodes go, like I said, it's very busy. A lot of it's very conveniently written at the beginning, in the opening, when Ben jumps into the doctor and she has to deliver the baby. It's probably the quickest birth in the history of births. Do you know what I mean? It's again a lot of conveniences within the element of the writing. However, it was fun. It was fun. I can't deny that. And the episode ends with Ben leaping into like this military individual stood next to Robert Picardo. So what's not to love about leaping into someone stood next to Robert Picardo? It's a bigger element than leaping into someone. Robert Picardo. How many times can I say Robert Picardo? That was about 4 times then. Yeah, and we're given a tease for next week's episode, and the trailer for it makes it look like a Groundhog Day-esque kind of story, that they're trapped in a loop. Now, I will say that I don't like Groundhog Day storytelling. I find it very difficult. In some cases it works, in some cases it doesn't for me. I just find the sort of rinse and repeat, reset nature of the story means that I'm going to have to sit through 45 minutes of something that feels like it's not going somewhere, because I have to watch repetitive scenes over and over again, and for that reason I struggle with Groundhog Day concept. So next week will be an interesting review in that sense. Will it work for me or won't it? Some do, some don't. Anyway, this is AJ. Let me know down below your thoughts on this episode. Did it work for you? Didn't it work for you? Do you like where the series is heading? Do you think they are stretching out the Janice stuff and the mystery and all this? Do you want more answers quicker? Let's talk about it. That's what this forum is for, down below. Just having a little chat. There we go. This is AJ. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care all and goodbye.